Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Social Podcast with myself, Nick Golding, and James Carr today. I wasn't here last week, and this week Duke is not here, so we're doing well at the moment. It's getting to a point we may have to change it to the Jamie Carr podcast. Hopefully, maybe in a couple of weeks we'll all be back. Anyway, Jamie, let's talk about Euros, because let's be completely honest, there's not too much to be talking about at the moment. It's been quite a quiet week.
It has
quite a quiet week. I don't like saying that. Anyway, obviously, already somehow some groups have finished, which does seem kind of crazy. Like, it feels like it only started last week.
I know. I can't believe it. We've only got, is it 4 more games today, and that's it.
Yeah, and then nothing. It's back to like
group stage.
It's back to like a couple of games every like 3 or 4 days, which is kind of annoying. But anyway, let's quickly run through obviously the final group games that have happened, and then of course we'll be able to previewing tonight, and there's a few other bits to going to get talking about. If you do enjoy this podcast, please like and subscribe to the channel. We are on our road to 100 subs. Let us know in the comment section below anything that you want to talk about with us, anything you agree or disagree about what we have said. It would be really good to hear from you, and make sure to check out the links in the bit below with all our socials, and yeah, you get the gist. Starting with Group A.
Straight into it.
Italy, Wales, of course, in that game, both teams already through, so there's not a lot to play for. Of course, Italy ran out 1-0 winners. But all in all, it's been a pretty solid group campaign for Wales.
I'm very impressed. I can't lie. I think they had that kind of past tournament, the last Euros, in the back of their minds because they did so well. And it's carried through. They've played quite well in all their games. They could have scored with Italy probably once or twice as well. Like, they missed some good chances. Fair play to them. Italy did play a very different team though. A lot of changes.
I mean, Italy really are proving themselves now to be like the real dark horses. In fact, I don't even think they're really dark horses now. I think
they're on to be winners.
They're they are moving themselves into a position now to actually be one of the main favourites, not just a dark horse. I actually read somewhere today as well that I can't think who it was. Somebody said that Wales have got like the most dangerous break in Europe.
I mean, they've got Bale, and they've got Ramsey, and they've got like Harry Wilson.
I don't know how that beats like Mbappe, Griezmann, and Benzema.
Exactly. I mean, that's pretty.
Wales will take it. They've got to take something. So obviously, they now move on to the last 16, and I'm not sure yet if they've found out who their opponents are. I think they find out tonight, depending on.
Let me see if I can.
To be honest,
they have Denmark.
They have Denmark. So Wales, Denmark, both two teams. Denmark, for me, obviously we'll talk about Denmark a bit more when we get to their group. But for me, they are already like the fact they managed to qualify after everything that's happened to them. Denmark for me already like no matter what happens, they are the team of the tournament.
Absolutely amazing. And it was 4-1, solid win. They really turned it around after that, I must say.
So Wales, Denmark for you. Oh, actually, that's Saturday. That's the first.
I was looking at that and thinking like Wales, like they could have got a really hard draw, but they've been drawn against Denmark, and that's no, like they're not playing Denmark down, but that's a good draw for Wales. I think that's a game they could possibly get a result as opposed to some of the other ones they could have got. So that's pretty good.
It'll be interesting because Denmark, of course, now. They're playing with so much emotion, but that makes them so dangerous as well to really any opposition, to be honest. But then Wales are one of those teams as well who you never quite know what to expect. And Italy, of course, they now play Austria in the last 16. Should be quite an easy tie for them.
Yeah, they should get that one. I mean, Austria have a couple of threats in Alaba and Sabitzer, and Arnautovic, who did miss one of the games. But I think Italy will. They've just been so comfortable in all of their games. I think they'll get it done again.
And of course, the other game that was in Group A on what day was it? Saturday, one of them I can't remember.
Yeah.
Switzerland running out 3-1 winners against Turkey, meaning that Switzerland go through as one of the best third place teams. Of course, they don't know yet who they will play because it's not been decided which of the four.
Switzerland have been massive underperformers. Sorry, not Switzerland. Turkey have been massive underperformers.
It was all I was seeing on Twitter, like in the run up to the competition, was Turkey will be underdog. Turkey will surprise some people, and they have surprised a lot of people by being absolutely awful.
They've been, honestly. I mean, you do look at some of the players and you go, "Oh, like Sayuncu at the back,
Yeah.
and I can't name it,
Yeah.
Yilmaz, who had a good season in Ligue 1. And they've also got Hakan, how do you say it? Chala.
Chala or Calhanoglu. I don't know.
Calhanoglu.
Well, I know. I think he's moving clubs. I keep seeing.
He's just gone to Inter Milan from AC Milan. Very dodgy. But point is, he's a good player as well. And they've, not lived up to it, have they?
On the whole, though, they've got quite young teams. I don't think this is going to be the last we've heard from them. Actually, in the build-up to the Euros, they were looking quite strong. Obviously, had some huge results. So I don't think this is the last we'll hear from them. But with regards to with Euro 2020, it's not being one to remember.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Switzerland, of course, really scraping through, having got the draw against Wales, then obviously losing to Italy, and obviously managing to get the win against Turkey. Again, obviously their last 16 games not been released yet because obviously it's not been determined yet which order they will be. They're through.
Right, I don't think it's through yet because third place teams play a first place from another group. So I don't believe. I'll have a look. I don't think it's there yet.
No, it's not. It's not yet.
No,
it's not. They've got to decide who's the best third place team, who's the second best, third best, fourth best. But they're one of the four. It's already been announced.
Yeah.
Either way, it was a good result for them. Obviously, they kind of turned up finally. It's a good result for them to get to the last 16.
Yeah, I think Switzerland are always just going to be one of those teams, and like they make a lot of the European major tournaments or just World Cup as well, but they always get there. They don't really do much. Bless them.
Bless them. We'll see what happens to them in the last 16. Moving on to Group B, and obviously start off with Belgium, Finland, 2-0 Belgium. Finland played well, to be fair to them, but obviously Belgium, obviously getting the win, meaning they end the group with 3 wins out of 3, which actually I didn't realise it doesn't happen that often at the Euros. I didn't realise just
that out of 3 hasn't happened. Germany were the last team to do it, and it was in 2012, but they were the only team to do it. I was baffled when I found this out at the start of the tournament that not many teams get 9 points. We've only gone and got Italy and Belgium.
And Holland.
Sorry?
And the Dutch.
And the Dutch as well, yeah. So it's gone out the window, that stat.
Yeah, that's to be fair. And of course, Finland, I'm not sure because they finished on 3 points. I don't think they're through. To be honest, I'm not sure.
No, they won't be through.
Their goal difference, I don't think is going to be terrible.
They finished off 3 points.
They finished off on 3 because they beat Denmark, obviously, in that game. They then lost to Russia, and then obviously they've then lost to Belgium. The whole thing quite confusing.
It depends. It depends on how this evening pans out because 4 third-place teams go throughout 6.
Because they're on 3 points, Ukraine are on 3 points.
Currently, if they're on 3, Ukraine are on 3, but Croatia have 4, so Croatia are basically through as one of them. That's
Croatia went for a second.
Yeah, the second.
Yeah, because of their goal difference.
Oh, they got another goal, didn't they?
And goal difference in head-to-head. It's
wow.
Confusing. But anyway, the big game in Group B for me was arguably one of the games of the tournament was Russia-Denmark. Of course, Denmark, unfortunately for me, destroying Russia 4-1. The game was actually nuts. It was ridiculous. I don't know what it is about the big international competitions, but there is always ridiculous goals. You think it's not actually that many games played, yet in almost every other game, there's a goal that could win the goal of the tournament, like the Premier League, for example.
This one was an absolute beauty. Actually, there were 2 in this.
Which one? There was 2. There was obviously Christensen with.
That's the headliner, isn't it? Blew my mind. Centre back.
In my head, that ball is still going through the back of the net. It was just nuts, and I felt bad for the Russian keeper because he made 2 really good saves in the build-up to it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And the game itself was unreal. So Denmark went 2 up because obviously it was whoever won that game would end up finishing second or third. It kept changing and turning. Obviously, it does mean Russia are out, of course, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Denmark go through a second, obviously, as we know, to play Wales. Finland, so I don't. To be honest, the whole third place thing confuses the hell out of me because I generally.
Basically, how many teams are on 4 points in third? They're guaranteed through.
Well, obviously, Czech Republic are guaranteed to go through because they finished on 4, so they're through. Switzerland, obviously, they're guaranteed to go through because they're on 4 points. So at the moment, the other 2.
There's only 2 more spots.
The other two third place teams are Ukraine and Finland, who are both on 3. But I would have imagined that Ukraine have probably got a better goal difference than.
And also the French Group F might have a potential third place as well. We'll have to see how the results. I'm very interested for that group.
Yes, and also Group E. Moving on to Group C, Duka will probably be absolutely gutted to not be here because after first saying that Weghorst is going to get Golden Boot and then Dumfries is going to get the Golden Boot, he'll probably now be saying that Georgie Wijnaldum's going to get the Golden Boot.
He will be. He's got 3 now, hasn't he?
Yeah, and obviously he got a double against North Macedonia. Obviously, the Dutch ran out 3-0 winners. To be fair to North Macedonia, they're better than Turkey.
They are. They've scored. They've scored as many goals as England. I love that stat, isn't it? It's so depressing. But fair play. They've had a bit of fight about them, and they've made history for their country. So it's very good.
They've not completely embarrassed themselves, and like you said, they've done history for their country. Pandev is player of the tournament.
The Guard of Honour, did you see?
Yeah, no, it was nice, wasn't it? It was a good time.
Very nice.
Of course, the Dutch fly through, and as Duka has said, I've lost count how many times he's put in the group chat. Holland are going to win the Euros. We'll have to wait and see.
And I'll be honest, my opinions on the Netherlands are, I think they're beatable. To be honest, they may have 3 wins. We could say the same about England, but I don't know what it is. They just look the Netherlands look a bit like open at the back. I think there's something you can kind of exploit them. They put a lot of players forward. And though they have some good centre-backs, I guess they're more individuals because there's certainly been times in their group where they're open at the back and can be exploited. And I think if they're up against better teams, they can be punished.
Yeah. And of course, the other game from Group C was Ukraine-Austria, which again had a lot riding on it because whoever won that game would have gone through as second. Obviously, Austria ran out 1-0 winners. It was actually quite a good game. I really like Ukraine. I think they play some really nice football. They play very attacking football because they've got an incredibly pacey team.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched too much of them, but do they still have Konoplyanka, Yarmolenko?
Yarmolenko, and they've got Siganov.
Oh yes, that's his name. I was wondering how you say because there's a T at the start.
But that's Ukraine. It's going to be a bit really tight for them if they're going to go through as a third place team because they're only on 3 points. I think they're winning against North Macedonia. I can't remember. I think the score was 2-0. Austria go through with a 1-0 win. Moving on to Group D, I guess we'll start off with England. 1-0 winners. It was about all you can really say, to be quite honest, isn't it? It wasn't.
I mean, I thought the first half they were really good.
First half, yes.
I thought Jack Grealish proved why he needs to start.
Yes.
I'm annoyed Sterling scored because I don't think he's done much else other than score at this tournament.
He's the only one who scored for us.
He's the only one who scored our goals. But it annoys me because aside from that, he doesn't really do much else.
No.
Like, it's frustrating because he'll start the next game because of that. And I think Jadon Sancho
I don't get it.
Has been robbed.
I don't understand it. I keep thinking that maybe something's gone on behind the scenes that we're not aware about, but it's just a weird one. Why wouldn't you? Okay, yes. I mean, Pleister, I'll be starting him.
Yeah, but I'd have started him over Sterling. I mean, I'll take that back because Sterling scored our goals, but
And you can't even argue about Saka because even though I thought, why Saka over Sancho? But to be fair to him,
he actually played quite well last night. He's got a good energy about him, which I actually wouldn't complain seeing in future games. Like he had that was important yesterday because we played so slowly and poorly against Scotland that in that game we just needed to have tempo. In the whole first half, it was quick. There was a lot more energy. The passing was better. I think Grealish was a key part of that.
Yeah.
And I think in the next game, Grealish needs to start. And we just need to, we're probably going to start with 2 CDMs again, but we just need to keep that tempo, I think. The wingers are all to play for, to be honest.
We say that, but we know it's going to probably be Grealish and Sterling.
Foden come back in. Foden was out because they didn't want him to get booked.
Yeah, Foden, I imagine, will probably play down the middle. But the main thing is, end of the day, that despite how boring all 3 of our games have been, to be honest, we're through. That's the main thing, as are the Czech Republic.
0 goals conceded.
exactly. And obviously the Czech Republic go through as one of the third placed teams. It looks like England will probably be playing Germany if results go the way they're expected tonight. But to be honest, as we've seen so far, quite legit anything can happen. Obviously, the other game in Group D last night was Croatia-Scotland. Croatia obviously winning out, coming out as 3-1 winners. And actually, to be fair to them, finally looked like the team that people know they can be.
They finally turned up because they had been massively underperforming, and I just thought, what's going on? Maybe they peaked at the World Cup because they had a kind of golden era and sort of still have a lot of those players. So yeah, but yes, there was a lot more like it. I mean, Scotland actually equalised, and I was like, oh my goodness, go on Scotland! Like maybe an upset here, but Luka Modric showing his class. What a goal!
And arguably, Croatia have probably got now the easier draw for the last 16 because they now play. Is it the winners of Group? See, the winners of or the runners-up from Group D.
I mean,
none of the teams.
We need to talk about this whole thing because there was a whole debate about do England want to finish second, but actually, if you finish first, I was thinking second originally, but I've looked at it. If you finish first and we play what we get, if we get through that game against France or Germany, the draw is generally easier. Whereas if you play that second, no, you come second, you play the other draw, might be easier, but you could also still get Spain. But then you're on the side of the draw that has Italy, Belgium, teams like that. So it's really, and also I think Gary Lineker tweeted, and he said there's no need for this debate. You play to win every game, and if you're scared of playing France or Germany, then you're not going to win the tournament. And I love
the way you've just said. It's an easy draw if we beat France, Germany, or Portugal.
Yeah.
If you had to get the draw, you just got to beat one of the 3 best teams in the world.
Well, that's what it is, though. I mean, I just think Gary Lineker put it right. If you don't think you can beat them, you're not going to win the tournament. Exactly. Can beat these teams. So
exactly. Of course, obviously it does mean, like I said, Croatia get the easier draw, but which means not odds on they'll probably have a nice little run in the competition now.
Yeah, they'll probably get to that.
Scotland go crashing home. They've had their nice, few week or couple weeks out, and they can now look forward to. I mean, not the World Cup because that's not going to happen. Most likely the Euros.
The Euros again.
So that's obviously the games, the groups that have already been decided, talked about. Let's now get on to tonight, starting off with Group E, where everything is to play for. Slovakia beat Spain. Spain are only on 2 points at the moment. This
is a gorgeous group. I'm looking forward to the end of this. Sweden are on 4. Sweden are basically through.
Sweden are on 4. Slovakia.
Sweden are through. It just depends where. So fair play to Sweden. That is one team. We could have. Well, in fact, no, we can't have Slovakia and Spain go through.
No, because Slovakia are on 3 points because they beat Poland but lost to Sweden.
So Slovakia, they could squeeze through in third if they lose to Spain.
They could, but it would depend. It's all going to come down to goal difference, I think.
Yeah, and then Poland, they need to win to stand a chance, and they're playing Sweden, who are already. I mean,
Poland are on 1 point.
Poland are on 1, so if they get the 4, there you go.
So if you look at it, if Spain beats Slovakia and Poland beats Sweden, then Spain will finish up on 5 points, and then you've got Poland and Sweden both on 4, which I would imagine should put both of them through. But it depends which way you look at it, because if Spain draws Slovakia, then odds on Spain will probably go out. Can you imagine if Spain get through after drawing 3 games? That'd be nuts.
Can you imagine?
It'd be very Spain though, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be, and then they go and win the tournament. I don't think they're good enough to win the tournament, to be fair.
No, to be honest, I actually thought going into the tournament they do quite well, but to be fair to them, they've been their build-up was so, tarnished by COVID and players getting COVID, and obviously.
I mean, there's that, but also I kind of looked at their squad and thought it's the weakest it's been in decades, probably.
Yeah, it's a young team, and it depends which way you look at it. Because you look at some countries in this competition who've got a young team and they perform really well. Or there's teams like Spain who they've kind of just not done enough. They turned up for the first half against Poland, and then they kind of stopped.
Would you say that England have a young team? Probably.
We have.
Yeah.
And obviously, it sounds stupid. It's only going to get younger because the amount of players we're coming through is, an absolute joke.
There is some great players. Yeah.
So for you, looking at tonight, what is your prediction?
I think, honestly, I actually don't know what to expect from Spain. I can't predict. I mean, I'm almost tempted to say they'll draw with Slovakia, and if so, they'll get 3 points. What do you think?
I can see Spain probably beating Slovakia. I think they probably will just have enough. I can't see it being many goals. I think probably 1-0, maybe 2-0.
Yeah.
But I can see Poland, Sweden probably drawing.
See, Poland's. If Poland win, and the other game's a draw, Spain are out. How bonkers is that?
Oh yeah, this isn't. There's so many ways this group can go, but I think for me, Spain are probably. I mean, Slovakia. No one really expects them to beat Poland in the opening game, but no, I think Spain will have too much for Slovakia.
They have something to play for, like properly now. They'll be motivated.
Yeah, and obviously, to be honest, Sweden are in a really good position because, they haven't got to win. Like obviously, if they draw,
I think they're just happy to go through.
Yeah, and obviously, because if the Sweden draw, they end up on 5 points. If they win, they'll end up on 7 points.
Well,
and even if they lose, they'll probably go through either way.
I mean, I should flip what I said about Spain saying being motivated to win. Same applies to Slovakia. They need to get something to go through. So actually, that's what I'm saying about a draw. Both teams are equally as motivated. It's not like Spain are more motivated than Slovakia.
Yeah. And of course,
it might be like, proper tough and gritty. Who knows?
It'll be good to see what happens in that group. Both of those games are at 5 p.m. Obviously, by the time this comes out, though, that would have been played. Moving on to the final group, and another one which I guess hasn't really gone the way people are expecting. Germany, Hungary, and France, Portugal. Well, very quickly, obviously, looking back at the second match day for this group, obviously, Germany and Portugal putting on arguably the game of the tournament. I don't think anybody really thought Germany had that performance in them.
They didn't really show it the first game. I mean, they had a lot of the ball first game, but then they just put it away more this time. And Portugal just love an own goal, don't they? Crikey.
But I thought Germany, it was like watching the Germany of old. I just thought they were just ruthless, and it was just the game itself as well was just nuts.
I'm going to be intrigued. I'm going to be watching these teams closely because we're going to have to play one of them. So.
Well, honestly, Germany for me, I mean, I know I said this in the first podcast, but for me, Germany is still, I think they're the favourites to win the competition. France don't look the team they once were. They were. I mean, I do think that the whole issues with Mbappe and Giroud before the competition is having an effect. Because the fact they drew against Hungary, no offence to Hungary, but France should be ripping them to pieces.
I mean, they really should be. I don't know what happened in that game. That was bizarre. Like, Hungary do actually seem like quite a tough team to beat.
They've got a chance to go through.
They actually do. The Portugal scoreline is very deceiving. Massive deflection goal, penalty, and then Ronaldo just scored a late goal. And yet, 8 minutes prior, in the 81st minute, they went 1-0 up, but it was offside. Like, huge, just deceiving. And they've actually been really tough in both their games. So, fair play. Hungary could make it difficult. Who are they playing? Is it Germany?
Germany. And obviously, if Germany need probably a point at least to go through, Hungary will have to win to go through. If Germany lose, which unlikely, but you never know. If Germany lose, they'll go out.
See, personally,
Hungary could still, I think, win the group.
They could.
Theoretically, I think they generally can still win the group.
On joint points with France, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, from that bunch, I mean, dream come true would be we get Hungary. I mean, how amazing would that be?
I mean, to be fair, though, the only way that could happen, I'm pretty sure, is for Hungary to beat Germany, and then obviously the other game, France, Portugal, is for, either France or Portugal to win. Basically, if Hungary win, if Hungary win, no matter what happens in the other game, they'll finish second. Can you imagine that? There's all of us saying, "Oh no, if we win the group, we're going to have to play Germany, France, or Portugal."
Yeah.
Everything. So you know what? No.
Yeah.
Hungary.
Yeah, Hungary. I mean, that would be unbelievable. I mean, let's say I remove Hungary from the equation. I think out of those three, Portugal are probably the one I want to play, and I can't believe I'm saying that because they have Ronaldo, which would be lethal. But I think Portugal
I
probably.
think at the moment, Germany are the ones I probably fear most from that group.
You think? I just think France in the break can be.
Germany just got so much to play for because it's Lowe's last game as Germany manager, and he's been there for ages. Who knows, how long the likes of Hummels and Neuer, whether they'll.
They'll probably do the World Cup.
They'll do the World Cup, but this is probably their last Euros. Right? You would have thought, and arguably Müller as well, possibly. I'm not sure how old he is now. He feels like he's been around since what?
Isn't he? I actually think he's only 30.
Is there any?
I think
either way, then this probably is his last Euros. You'd have thought.
Yeah, it's a joke though. He's Mr. Consistent. He has been.
So for you, starting with Germany, Hungary, which way is that going?
Germany will probably win 2-0, 3-0.
That'll be on top of the group.
Yeah, probably.
That would then mean that if that happens, I agree with you. I think I consider that most likely being a 2 or 3-0. I can see Germany coming out, playing a strong team, but coming out early doors and getting a few goals by half time, and then probably rotating a lot of half time to rest players. So based on that, Germany will come top of the group, and we won't be playing Germany. It would mean that we'll probably be playing either. Well, no, unless France win, France or Portugal.
And the only way Portugal can do it is by winning. If they draw, France.
If Portugal lose, then I'm pretty sure that puts them out of the competition.
Yeah, if they get a draw, they've got 3 points. So
if they draw,
there's some other 3-pointers.
If Portugal draw, that should be enough. They should be. They'll be through.
But 4 will be enough. But if they lose, their goal difference might have taken a bit of a knock, actually, so they might go out.
Well, yeah, because if they lose, then I think whatever happens, I think it's most likely that the third place from Group E will probably go through, because the way that group looks, there's a very good chance that the third place in there will finish on 4 points. Yeah. So I think we can kind of guarantee that the third place team from there is going to go through, which would then mean if Portugal lose, it would be between Portugal, Ukraine, and Finland.
What, for the third place?
Third place, because they'll then all be on 3.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm looking at that. I do see France beating Portugal, so we are probably going to have to play France.
Which, I mean, it depends.
Not good.
It's not good, but whatever way we look at it, it's not going to be good. And
all the hype, and we're going to go out in the round of 16, man. I
don't write off Hungary. I mean, they remind me of Iceland from Euro.
God, they're hungry.
They just do though. Like they're kind of the team that
they have a bit of toughness about them. To be fair,
everybody wrote off going into the tournament. Yet all of a sudden, they get a result, and suddenly things start changing. It would be so typical for them to come second, us to play them, and probably them to knock us out of the competition.
Yeah.
But anyway, we will see what happens with that. Obviously, those games are tonight at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
By the next podcast, we'll know who's done that. In fact, by the next time we record a podcast, some of the last 16 games would have happened. That's crazy thought.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to a situation regarding Group D, I think we need to discuss after the Billy Gilmore incident.
We need to get into this.
Now, obviously, I'll say for those who don't know, but I think by this point everybody knows, because it's been covered on pretty much every single news outlet I've seen for the past 24 hours. Billy Gilmore, after the England game, caught COVID, and off the news came out him catching COVID. Mason Mount and Ben Chilwell have been sent into self-isolation for 7 days until Monday, the 28th of June, which will most likely...
Very fortunate. If we had drawn yesterday, basically, if we hadn't have won, we would have come second and we would have played on the 28th, and we wouldn't have been able to have Mount and Chilwell.
Because they're not going. They have to stay in isolation, so I think it's unlikely they'll even be able to train. I mean,
Chilwell still won't actually play on the 29th.
They won't. To be fair to him, Chilwell's not actually played yet in the competition anyway. And Mason Mount, to be fair, you've got to think, after how well Saka and Grealish did, you've got to argue if Mount's possibly now lost his place in the team.
Maybe.
Which breaks my heart. But the whole thing's ridiculous in my opinion, because the reason that Mount and Chilwell have been put into self-isolation, even though they have tested negative, by the way, it's because
I can't get my head around it. I can't. It makes no sense.
They came into close contact with Billy Gilmore. Of course, those pictures came out off the game of them hugging and stuff. Which, you know, they play for the same team, they're going to do.
Yeah.
And of course, apparently they then spent 20 minutes chatting to him after the game. So therefore, Chilwell and Mount have been put in self-isolation to the 20th of June. However, none of the Scottish team have, none of the backroom staff at Scotland have, the manager of Scotland hasn't. Even though the Scottish team would have obviously been in the same hotel as Billy Gilmore, travelled with Billy Gilmore, trained with Billy Gilmore, been in the same changing room. Yeah, because they tested negative, they've not got. I don't get it. All right, it's like, okay, Ben Chilwell, to be fair, he's not started a game so far, but Mason Mount, that's a massive player who now can't play. It's going to impact us.
I could honestly, I was fuming and I was absolutely baffled. I can only think the logic is Public Health England have a different way of dealing with this situation to Scotland. And because the two countries differ in terms of COVID restrictions and how they run everything anyway.
When you say that, but
no, they do. Nicola Sturgeon is literally deliberately does things differently to be different. So in this case, I feel like Scotland's setup is probably different to England's with how they deal with it. That's the only thing. It doesn't make sense otherwise.
I would have thought, though, they would have made some sort of exception. The fact they've tested negative and all, like, okay, maybe I can understand them having to self-isolate for a few days. But the fact that, you know, the Scottish team obviously then played last night, like a majority of the same players, obviously, who played with against England with, you know, obviously Billy played with Scotland. I just don't get it. I don't see how it's fair, how UEFA can let all this happen. Like, and now this is the thing that annoys me as well. Okay, so Michael Gove, I can't think what he is. He's I've got to say polite. He went to the Champions League final in Portugal.
Did
he? He caught COVID in Portugal. However, I think it was like when he got back, he didn't. So like he tested negative, and then part of a pilot scheme, he didn't have to self-isolate or something, or he was allowed to come out of it early. And like people are saying, why can't they do the same thing for Chilwell and Mount? Like, it's quite literally a European competition. They've tested negative. Why are they in isolation when the entire Scotland team negative on the same vehicle? Like,
do you think the negative test is being annoyed because they say that you can still carry it and not come up on a test yet? It takes days sometimes.
Why are they then still letting the Scottish team play? Like, I get, you know, and this is quite interesting because this is something we spoke about actually in the first podcast about whether a team would have to forfeit a game or have a game, you know, delayed because of COVID. And actually, Zucker said that he can't see it happening. I don't think any of us probably really thought that this incident would come up, but it has.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not the last we're going to hear about, especially if Mount doesn't play in the last 16.
Well, he probably won't, like you said. He hasn't trained. I didn't think about that.
You know, okay, he's a ridiculous footballer, and
I mean, if I hear the whole fitness excuse, I think he's perfectly fit just because he hasn't run for a few days. But
won't start. I'm imagining he'll probably make the bench.
Yeah, he might make the bench.
Whereas Chilwell, to be fair, not even
Chilwell. I would have started him every single game at left back, but there's an agenda clearly. So
yeah, I don't quite. I don't get it. My only argument is it because we play 5 at the back at Chelsea, so he's not played actually at
that's all I can think of. He's played as wing back, but
yeah, so you know.
And as much as I like Reece James, I'll just put this out there. I'd start Kyle Walker.
How dare you? No, to be quite honest,
I'm a fan of Reece James. I like him, but Kyle Walker's been solid both games, and I know Reece James. It doesn't look good on him, but his game was against Scotland, and we were awful. So.
To be fair, the thing that annoys me with Walker is that he has so many opportunities to put a great ball in, but he just doesn't.
He did, yeah. I know what you mean, because yesterday there were a couple of times, and then he'd take another touch and try and
and then, he'd like cut in, and then he'd cut back out, and then by the point he goes to cross it, what?
Yeah.
We can't do nothing.
We don't cross the ball enough, and you know, I wonder what life would be like if we had Trent. Like,
we've not scored from a set piece yet, have we? So
no, very different.
Okay, let's move on to another topic. Sticking with the Euros, it's been announced that there will be 45,000 people in Wembley Stadium for the last 16 and quarter-final game, and then 60,000, which is 75% capacity, for the semi-final and final, which is a brilliant step forward. However, one thing that I don't agree with is that if the reports that are coming out are true, international fans won't be allowed to attend.
I mean, that's great for us. It's motivation to get there, but I have a feeling we won't get there. Although that is something to note, actually, our round of 16 game against Group F team is at Wembley. So that is a key factor. I really hope that benefits. But anyway, 60,000, it's very good. No foreign fans. A lot of people will be fuming about that, especially if it's their country and English fans are there watching it. But I think it's mainly to do with the whole UEFA kicking up a fuss because they wanted to go and obviously not isolate. And I think they've given in. I think you were saying something about that earlier.
Yeah, they were saying about 2,500 people will have to come over for the game or something. And that there are some people saying they should have to quarantine, but others aren't. Long story short, the government won't make them quarantine because they want to put a bid in for the 2030 World Cup, a joint bid with Ireland. So obviously they're going to make UEFA happy because then you've got Italy who are coming forward saying, oh, COVID's so bad in the UK, let's bring the final, the semi-final to Rome.
I mean...
Which, okay, yeah, probably does make a bit of sense. But obviously, this has then put pressure on the UK government and the FA to say, no, it's okay, we can do it, we'll increase capacities. Because they're going to do everything they can to make sure we can put a bid in for 2030.
See, but isn't it just a draw anyway for World Cups?
Still not really, no.
It's so rigged though, isn't it? It's always been known to be.
Well, look where we're going next year.
Yeah, like that was a massive scandal.
Exactly. That's the most rigged competition in history.
But personally, I think they should quarantine. They've just given in, which is really
I do think they should. That's the whole reason why the Champions League final, which obviously was heavily rumoured to be moved from Turkey to Wembley, didn't happen because the UK government put their foot down and said no. Any sponsors and media or anything that want to come to the game from another country will have to self-isolate.
I think we could happily accommodate 2,000 people for 10 days or whatever it needs to be, or 7 days.
Doing it for the red list.
Like, yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, but UEFA are just being twats.
The question would then come though, well, yeah, nothing new there. The other thing as well, I guess that'll come out of it is if they were to put into quarantine, who would pay for it? Because I guarantee you the people who are in the quarantine won't be.
Yeah, you know what? UEFA would probably be very tricky there and, not pay for it.
UEFA a tricky full stop.
Yeah, true. Dodgy company, mate.
End of the day, it'll be nice, obviously next week seeing 45,000 in Wembley, 50% capacity, step in the right direction. However, the other thing that's very frustrating, obviously Wimbledon starts next week as well. And obviously the final of Wimbledon will be the first event at full capacity. Mm-hmm. I think there's 15,000. No, I might be wrong. Is it 15,000 or 10,000? I can't remember. But then upstairs, for the first week, Wimbledon starts next week.
I've heard the finals full capacity.
The finals full capacity. No, so the start of it isn't though. I think it's 15,000 allowed. I might be wrong.
When will the final be?
The final is it starts Monday, so it'll be 2 weeks time.
Okay.
2 weeks, Saturday, Sunday for the women's and the men's. The thing that's still annoying me though. Now, obviously, for those watching this that don't know, motorsport is very close to my heart. And, football is being allowed to have more fans in, which is brilliant, as is tennis. Fantastic. That's such good news. And, it's brilliant for those sports because, it gets a bit of the money back in and, it gets the fans back, which everybody wants. My problem, though, is that for some reason, motorsport venues, the likes of Brands Hatch, which is actually down the road from me, aren't allowed to have more than 10,000 people, even though they literally have acres and acres of land. It's
outdoor,
it's outdoors.
It's strange, isn't it? It
is. However, it's been at Silverstone for the Grand Prix, which is next month, is allowed full capacity 140,000.
They get 140,000.
Yeah, but it's Silverstone. This is my argument. You've got to look at the amount of land. Like Brands Hatch, I've seen near me, for example. Like I don't know the exact number, but it's huge. The site is huge.
Silverstone has 140,000.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think how big this circuit is. It's massive.
Yeah, but there aren't seats the whole way around, I swear.
Well, no, but it's land. You've got to think of all the acres of land.
Goodness me. Sorry, I'm absolutely baffled. I did not know it had that much capacity. I mean, the seats, I don't know what the course is like in terms of where they locate the seating, but I know it's obviously by the finish.
Yeah, so basically the mad thing is as well, so there's a circuit at Donington Park had the Download Festival. I think it was last weekend, and they were allowed. I can't think what.
Oh, they've been trialing festivals, haven't they? Trial
Yeah,
events.
the Download Festival was because they were allowed
Great to
allowing
hear.
allowing you to bring your own booze in.
Yeah.
The Download Festival, I think it was last weekend. Anyway, it was at Donington Park, which is a racetrack. They obviously think that the small amount of space they were using for the festival, they allowed more people into the festival than they're going to allow actually to the racetrack for like a race meeting, which I don't get it. It's frustrating. I think there is a lot more that needs to be done because to support the other sports, because it's not just football and tennis that people want to go watch. There's other sports which need the money. My chair is so squeaky today. It's so bad.
I mean, it is all part of a slow release. I mean, we're almost there. We're about just under a month away now.
So they delay it again.
And they'll delay it again. They better not. I've got stuff planned, but they I just think, I guess that's why, and maybe because motorsport doesn't have as many fans as say football, that might be their logic. I don't know.
I don't. It's a hard one. It would be a lot more even. Yes, okay, football would have a bigger fan base, but it depends on the country you go to.
Yeah, of course.
If you were to go to the likes of Italy, motorsport out there is huge, it's stupidly big. But anyway, very quickly, the last little bit, we've gone well off schedule here. Last little bit about football. Let's annoy Ducker and talk about Norwich.
Of course.
Because obviously there's been a bit of transfer news from Norwich. Obviously they sold Emil Buendia to Villa. They have signed on a 4-year deal. I don't know what his first name is. Rashika from Werder Bremen. He's only 24. He's I think Daniel Farker was saying that he's a winger. He can play central. He plays a striker.
Yeah, an interesting little signing. Kind of a tricky winger.
Well, I think it's quite a good one. I don't think he'll be able to fully replace Buendia, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. I think I mean, he's not a bad little winger. I mean, it's decent for their club, I'd say.
He's got 29 goals and 100 caps for Werder Bremen.
That's pretty good, actually.
It's for somebody who doesn't play,
He's only 24 as well.
I thought he was older than that, to be fair. And he's another player. I recognise his name, and I feel like he's been around for ages.
Yeah, so fair play. That's not bad. But big boots to fill in Buendia, and they're going to lose Skip, whether Ducker likes it or not. Skip's coming back to Tottenham, so
Ducker will say something about that next week.
Yeah.
And of course, a little bit of transfer news.
Big one.
Harry Kane, of course, with Man City believing a bid of 100 million. Daniel Levy is not going to. He won't let him go.
Daniel Levy, yeah.
Daniel Levy. I don't care. He's a.
He won't let him go for that much. I mean, to be fair, the deal, 100 mil, and the rumoured players, because they were willing to pop a player in there.
Yeah.
The players were Sterling, Jesus, and Laporte.
Won't happen.
I would love 100 mil in Laporte. That would be fantastic. Solves our defensive issues, and you get 100 mil on the side to replace Kane with.
For me, it makes sense. If they're going to do anyone, it may as well be Jesus. Like, if they're going to do a striker, you might as well do it for another striker. Why would you get rid of Laporte? He's young, so much potential, and is an unbelievable. Yeah, I know they've got Diaz and Stones, but who's their next backup in defence?
I would have said Jesus, but because I do quite like him, but I'm just trying to picture him in a Tottenham team, and I'm wondering if he'll.
I can't picture anyone in the Tottenham team.
No, exactly. I just want that to be for Tottenham, because he's got amazing service at City, and Tottenham are pretty good going forward. But yeah, I just think that's probably how he gets a lot of his goals.
And obviously, at this rate, Ryan Mason's probably still going to be the manager come August.
Our manager situation is a shambles. It's actually a joke. I think we're back to the main two of Graham Potter and Ten Hag. Potterable, man. I don't want it, but I have some mates who think it's not a bad appointment. I'm just not interested. Like, we were linked with Valverde, who was former Barca boss. I think that would be good. We threw Conte away. But
there was then when he tried to get Gattuso.
It's not even get to Gattuso and Fonseca. We can't even get Paulo Fonseca. There were financial issues that they disagreed on.
Financial issues. I don't believe it's because they were saying was it tax or something?
There was some tax stuff, and also the new sporting director we hired from Juventus, Paratici. I read something that he wants to play a back three and Fonseca wants to play a back four, but that won't be the sole reason that we haven't signed a manager. So there were obviously some money problems, just like there were with Conte and everyone else. I'd like Ten Hag out of the options left, but you could actually make a starting 11 out of all the managers we've been linked with. It's so silly.
Right. I think that's pretty much everything we covered today, to be honest.
I think so.
One quick thing I will say, maybe was I doubt Jamie knows much about this sport. No offense, mate, it's a motorsport. But also in MotoGP at the weekend, Marc Marquez, after 531 days or something without a win, having been out for the whole of 2020 after his ridiculous crash, destroying his arm, then having the surgery, then the wound get infected, having to have surgery again, and then make his mad comeback, finally won a Grand Prix at the weekend. It was nuts. And yeah, wow. It actually was nuts. He's been like,
fair play to him.
If you ever want to look up Marc Marquez, honestly, the story is actually nuts. Like, it's ridiculous. But anyway, I think that is everything. Jamie, any final words to end on?
Up the potable for next season. Let's go.
If you've enjoyed this pod,
home, of course.
It's coming home. Yeah, okay. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this pod, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out our socials, follow the links below, and comment anything that you thought about this pod. It'd be great to hear from you. As always, from myself and Jamie, it's been episode 3 of the Sports Social Podcast. Have a good week.